Hello, and welcome to your Storage Commander orientation class. This class will provide you with an overview of Storage Commander functionality and key tips and tools that will help you with your day-to-day life. We'll be covering a lot of information, so I encourage you to take notes, and I hope this will facilitate a seamless transition to the Storage Commander software. Here's an overview of our agenda for today. First, we'll discuss the Storage Commander tabs and how they are used. Then, we will jump to the Storage Commander icons, which will be used in your day-to-day life, such as move-ins, move-outs, payments, transfers, adjustments, reservations, etc. Finally, we'll walk through miscellaneous items and reporting. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started. This is our Storage Commander login window. From here, you can log in with your predefined user ID and password. Or, while logging in here, you can actually change your password upon login. You can put in a new password, confirm that password, and press OK. And once you log in, now you have changed your password credentials. The first window that you see in your initial login to Storage Commander is going to be the sitemap, if your facility has one. If you do not have one, you will see the Quick View tab. In this case, I do have a sitemap, so this is the first one that I see. If you have logged into Storage Commander prior to this and you left a different tab open, for example, the calendar or the charts and gauges tab, when you exited Storage Commander, that's actually the tab you will see when you log back in. From the sitemap here, there's a couple things, actually multiple things you can do, but there are a couple things that I wanted to note before we move forward on the functionality of the sitemap. One is going to be our Storage Commander icons up here at the top. Things like move-ins, move-outs, payments, NSF, transfers, adjustments. Those are things that you can use on your day-to-day life, and these icons were created for just a quick, easy tool to take you to that functionality. At the bottom, this is what we call our ledger bar. On the left-hand side, these are all of your units and the status that they're in, and the right-hand side is the units and the condition that they're in. From here, you can go ahead and click on them. You can scroll if you wanted to. In this case, you can add a note to that unit. If the units were rented, it'll give you a little bit about the customer. So name, phone number, paid through date, balance. If you wanted to, you can go ahead and press edit, and this would take you directly to the customer details screen, which we will definitely go more in depth in later. Now this ledger bar is color-coded based on your late steps in Storage Commander. So pink is auction status, deep red, I guess I should say like bright red, is overlock status. 4 is deny access. This kind of brown beige color is past due. This deep dark burgundy is dirty. And then this orangey color is damaged. As you can tell, these colors are also color coded on your sitemap. These are color coded throughout Storage Commander. So if you ever needed to quickly go ahead and take a look at who's in that status, you can always just click on these on your ledger bar. From here, one thing I wanted to note is your ledger bar and your icon bar are completely stagnant. So no matter what page you're on in Storage Commander, they'll be there for you for help. Now let's go ahead and jump into your sitemap. There's a couple things that I wanted to note first. Your sitemap is great. You can do all functionality pretty much for it, and we have many customers who really live in their sitemap internally. You can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can scroll up and down depending on how large your facility is. You can hover over the units, and as you can see, it'll start to auto-populate with customer information here on the left-hand side. And as I'm hovering, it's going to change based on that unit information that I'm over. And it'll give you a little bit about that customer. It'll give you their name, their unit, the pay through date, the next bill date, the rate, balance, things like that, things that you would need to know about the customer. Now from this sitemap, there's a couple things that you can do here. I can right click on the unit and it'll give me a list view of things that I can do on that unit. For instance, I can go to their customer details page. I can make a payment. I can move them out. I can do an adjustment on their account. I can transfer them, charge an account, or I can just quickly add a comment to their account. These are all of the things that I can do on this customer account. Now, if I left clicked on this unit, it's going to automatically take me to the payment window, which will go in more in depth later on. Now that's on a rented unit. If the unit is available, if you right clicked on it, it'll give you two options. You can move a customer in or you can reserve that unit. Now if you left clicked on it, it'll take you directly to the move-in screen. So you can move a customer into that unit, quick, easy, take you right to that process. Again, we'll go over that in just a bit. The next tab we'll go over is going to be our Quick View tab. From our Quick View tab, this is a lot of information all at once, but this is great because it's really an overview of what's going on in your business today. So if you can see at the top left here, this is all of your current reservations. And you can do a couple things on them, right? So we can move them in, we can cancel them. So move in would be converting them directly to a move in right from the reservation. Cancel would be, the customer is not interested anymore. We'll go ahead and cancel that. To create a reservation, you would use your icon here or the sitemap like you just saw. You would use the icon there. You would select the customer or the unit the customer is requesting, and you kind of move forward with this reservation process. Now, I wanted to note that the reservation process and the move-in process looks very similar. The only difference is that the accept payment is going to be a little different because on a move-in, you're going to accept full payment, right? Usually. So in this case, you would collect all information. So I'll go ahead and put, a test info in here. Now, if you require all of this information upon move or upon reservation, please enter this, as you're creating a reservation. If you're one of those companies that requires address and phone number and email, definitely enter that here. I'll go ahead and put a test email in here. And driver's license date, things like that. In this case, I'm going to skip over those, but I will add an address. So did you see when I pressed new, it actually freed up this space so that I can enter an address. Now, cool tip here, when you enter the zip code, it'll auto-populate the city and state. See? Temecula, California. Now, again, if I press new on the phone number, it'll go ahead and populate this area so that I can enter that information. And you can even leave a description. Maybe you wanted to say main office, right? And once I, click on something else, it'll make sure that it marks it as that main office number. If this was a customer who can receive a text message and you guys are signed up with one of our third-party text message carriers, you would want to maybe click this so that when you send out a notice or your late steps, things like that, your text message can automatically go to these customers too. Photos. This would be, for instance, where you might want to take a scan of a customer's ID. So if you have a scanner attached to your computer, you would maybe want to put, Missy's ID. And you can scan the image directly from Storage Commander, if you had a scanner attached. Or if you already have an image on your computer that you wanted to import of that customer's ID, you can just import it from a file here by pressing import and then finding that document on your computer. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. Fingerprints. Now, we do carry a piece of hardware that takes fingerprints for the customer. And this would be like if you carry, for instance, you hold high dollar value items. A lot of customers would want to make sure that it's like super secure, so they'll take fingerprints. If you are interested in something like this, please contact our sales department. Alternate contacts. So what I like to explain this as is maybe the customer here is the husband and the alternate contact is the wife. So you want to enter her information as much as possible so that if you can't get a hold of the customer, you can always call the alternate contact in this case. Employer. So this could be one of two things. So this could be maybe a personnel. So maybe it's Missy at, Storage Commander, or maybe it's just a full business name. Maybe you just want to take down the customer's business name. So maybe in this case, it would just be Storage Commander. You would select this and it frees up that business name and we would enter that here. Notes and comments. So this is really cool. So notes can be added and deleted at any time. Comments, on the other hand, are date and time stamped with user information. And this is great for things such as, tried to reach out to customer for payment, something like that, because this keeps a backlog of information, and because it can't be edited, it can't be deleted, it's really great to have in here. And just to go back, and if you ever for some reason have an auction on a customer unit, this would be great to go back and look at. So comments is fabulous. Alerts would be maybe even something to alert yourself about. Maybe, customer's ID is expired, go ahead and grab a new one. You could just put ID expired, needs new one on file, right? So then this big red box is going to pop up when you open that customer account next time. And it'll be a big red pop-up to remind you of something. So this is a really great tool too, because maybe post-its aren't your thing, right? This would be an internal post-it on a computer. Merchandise. So if you wanted to add merchandise with a reservation, you could. Very quick and easy. Maybe you needed to add this large box because the customer is interested in purchasing it. You could go ahead and add it to the cart. You can increase the quantity number. And then also, if you had a specific discount for merchandise items, you can apply that here. In this case, because I'm doing a reservation, I'm going to go ahead and not add a merchandise item. Now your billing details page. Now I say this with reservation, I say this with move-in. This is always the bread and butter of your transactions. So this is where we go ahead and we check our work. We make sure everything is good to go before we complete it. So couple things to note here. This is where we can change their planned move-in date, right? So maybe I told you I didn't want to move in until, May 15th or May 14th in this case. And this is where you double check the rate. You can change the billing plan. So if you had multiple billing plans, in this case, maybe I was military. Then when we quickly convert it to a move-in, they're already assigned to that billing plan because we converted it over. On this left-hand side, we have this ability to collect this marketing data and find out where our customer base is coming from. So we can say, okay, well, this contact type was a walk-in, or maybe they were a phone call or a call center or internet. These can be edited on the back end, but these are already predefined for you. So this already comes with Storage Commander. Or maybe you wanted to say, okay, well, where was this category? What about the category of the resident? Were they a local resident? Were they military? Were they out of state? Or was it senior? And then contact source. Maybe they were billboard, coupon, drive-by. I know penny saver. Maybe that's not as common where you are. And maybe, something like referral is real big where you are. This helps you kind of narrow it down for marketing purposes. And then reason. So maybe you wanted to say the price was fabulous. Like, this is the reason why they're reserving the unit. Or they're a seasonal customer. They really only want to reserve during the summer. And you have this ability to kind of narrow that down, right? So that's what marketing data is used for, is to kind of narrow down your customer base. Now, if you had anything on your current transaction, for instance, if I would have left that merchandise item, it would have popped up here. Because I am doing a reservation, it's going to pop up as a $0 balance. If I did have something on my current transaction, it would break it down by what is in the summary. So what is that form of payment hitting? Is it rent, discounts, fees, deposits, merchandise, etc.? In this case, I'm going to go ahead and press finish. And now, once it's loaded, it's going to pop up here on my reservation list because we just created the reservation. Everything should be good to go. And now here I am, right? So I'm here under 5/14/2020. And then maybe that day comes around and I decide, you know what, I'm good to go. Let's go ahead and move in. I've come into your facility to make a payment. I can go ahead and press move in at this time. Or maybe the customer calls and says, you know what, I'm not interested anymore. I don't need a unit. You can go ahead and press cancel. One thing to note on these is that it will turn red after 14 days because it expires, right? So in this case, we have a bunch from before and it's saying, hey, just an FYI, this reservation expired because we're past 14 days. And maybe that's a red flag for you guys to, contact the customer, see if they're still interested, something like that. You can also edit a reservation by going to the Customer Units tab and locating your customer. You can search by name, unit number if you know the unit number, phone number if you'd like. In this case, I can actually scroll. I notice that the unit number is color-coded based off my reservation. So I'm going to search my name and I can open it up. It's going to pop up with that alert that you and I just talked about. In this case, I can go ahead and go to the Customer tab and I can change any information that I like. Maybe it's my email that I want to change. Once it's completed, I can press finish. And now I've updated that reservation. So that's your reservations here. Now from here, anything on your Quick View tab, you can print if you wanted to each section. You can sort by name, date, things like that. Now the next section is going to be your late and past due contracts. So it'll give you a name, their pay through date, their balance, the unit, the phone number, things like that. Couple things you could do. Again, you can right click and now I can add a comment. Again, if I had a third-party carrier for texting, I could quickly send them a predefined text, or I can go to their customer details screen. Or if I just decided I wanted to click on the customer, a left click on the customer, I should say, that will take me directly to the customer details. So if I wanted a little bit more info, this is where that would be. I can sort by unit number, or I can sort by pay through date. The next section here, this is going to be your scheduled move outs. So to schedule a move out, you would come up to activities and down to schedule move out. Now you're just going to search the customer. So maybe it's me. I should be in here. I'm scheduled to be moved out, and I've decided I want to be moved out on May 15th, right? So you pick the day in which the customer wants to be moved out on this date. And there's a couple other things you can do here. If you guys have a predefined move out notice that you've created in Storage Commander, you can select that now. And then also you have this option to disable automatic payment upon move out. Once I press finish, I'm going to unclick that. Once I press finish, now I'm going to show up here on the scheduled move outs. From here, I can cancel, or I can move me out on day of. From your to-do list here, so there's a bunch of different things that come into play with your to-do list, okay? So these can be based off your late steps. For instance, as you can see, it says, unit 14 needs an overlock to be added. Well, they would go into overlock status based on your late step. And so in this case, this customer needs an overlock added. Or maybe a different customer paid and they need their overlock removed. So now as things happen in Storage Commander, things are going to start to pop up on your to-do list. You can change multiple at one time. So this is really for a facility manager to kind of walk the property, make sure everything's good to go, make sure, in this case, overlocks were added, removed, things like that. And then they can come in here and they can say, oh, I've changed multiple all at one time because I've already walked the property. Or you can select one at a time if you like. By selecting all, you can do that. Or you can select individual. Now, another thing that's going to pop up here is within Storage Commander, when you vacate a unit, it automatically marks that unit as dirty. As you can tell, that kind of deep burgundy we talked about earlier. And this is because it gives the facility manager enough time to walk that property, make sure that unit is inspected, make sure that it's good to go for the next customer or tenant. And it won't post, if you have online links, it won't post online because it's flagged as this kind of dirty unit. And then again, that's another thing that will pop up on your to-do list. So it'll say, are these units cleaned, right? So dirty units will pop up here. And then if you've inspected all of them, you can select them all and press update. So we'll select all of these and press update. And now they're going to immediately kind of take off that list. In this case, I'm going to press close because I'm not going to change those other ones. Now, so again, dirty units will pop up here. Or this dirty units you can actually click on and then we'll have a list view of them. And there'll be a box here, a checked box that says cleaned, and you can click it, just a real quick check, and press close and it automatically updates it and it takes that unit from dirty and it puts it to available that quick. One thing that I will show you later when we're doing move-ins and move-outs is I'll go ahead and show you how that looks firsthand. It's a little difficult when it's not there yet. Okay, so the contact list. This here is fabulous. It's actually used as a waiting list, really. From here, when you create a reservation, it automatically really creates a contact, right? Because you want to contact those people back, follow up with them. They're really like a customer that you want to track the progress of them. And you can also, again, use the contact list as a waiting list. To create a contact on your contact list, you would press contact. And in this case, we can press new. If you were coming in here to search old ones or current ones, you could do that. You can even show converted if you wanted to see who's converted to a move-in. You can show lost. So in this case, maybe, they told you they were going to go somewhere else, or they, weren't interested anymore. You can show them here. But in this case, we're going to go ahead and press new. So I'm going to go ahead and create myself a contact. Because I called you and I said, hey, I'm interested in a 10 by 10. Can you go ahead and let me know if you have one? In this case, you're telling me, I don't have a 10 by 10, but I might have one coming available because you're looking at your scheduled move-outs here. Maybe there's a 10 by 10 that is going to come available soon. You're going to create a contact for this customer, right? So you're going to collect as much data as you and your company likes to collect during this process. You can even put in the requested unit type. So maybe I'm only looking for a climate control unit. And I only I wanted a 10 by 10. So I'm only searching for a 10 by 10. And you can even collect the data in advance if you wanted to. So if you guys are one of those companies that houses vehicles, you can collect vehicle information in advance. And then when you convert that contact to a reservation or convert it to a move-in, you have this ability to convert it and you've already collected that information, right? Again, as much information as your company wants to collect in advance, this is how you would do it. And then you have this section here called Save as Contact. So a couple of things to note, right? So our status here is open because we're just creating it. You have other statuses such as lost, converted, canceled. That's when you would go back in. If a customer called you and said, I'm not interested, you would mark it as lost. If you converted it to a move-in, you would press converted. Or maybe they're just not interested at all anymore. I don't need a unit. That's when you can mark it as canceled. Again, you can predefine those within your company however you want to use them. And then you can pull reports based on things like that. The source. So again, this is where we're pulling that marketing data. Maybe they said, you know what, I saw your information driving by your company. That's where you would put that. And I'm calling in, so I'm a walk-in. And then maybe the category is, you know, I'm a local resident. Do you have any local resident discounts right now? And then that's where you would want to collect that data. Now the outcome, we have a couple different things you could put here. So I can say, you know what, what am I doing with this customer? I'm looking to just check back with them in a couple weeks. Am I looking to, or did they just leave a message? So I'm going to put them in here as a contact. Like, what is the current situation with this customer? In this case, I'm going to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to check back with them in 2 weeks because I know I have something coming available and I want to see if they're still interested at that point. You can enter information here to set appointment times. So we can say, okay, well, we're requesting it today. If the contact expires, what day does it expire on in your company? Do you have company guidelines you're supposed to follow? You can put that here, or it's going to default to a month from now. And maybe I'm going to set an appointment day for the day that this customer here is going to be moved out because that's the unit I want them to rent. So maybe I want to say, okay, in 2 weeks from now, I'm going to go ahead and set an appointment time for myself to reach back out to this customer and see if they're still interested in this unit. And that's how you would do that. And then notes and comments. So same thing, notes can be added at any time. Comments would be date and time stamped with user information, and then alerts. So maybe this customer is requesting that they only want this unit on the south side of the building, right? So maybe you wanted to put something like that to remind yourself. And once I press OK, now I'm in here as a contact. Oops, Missy Test, this is me. So my contact name is here. I forgot to put my phone number. If I would have put my phone number, I would be there. The size of the unit, and then the follow-up. And this is the follow-up date that I selected. Now, the trick is if you needed to clear some of these out, like we have a lot in here right now, if you needed to clear them out because they're not an active contact anymore, you would come back in, and again, we would go to the Save as Contact tab, and we would have to change the status. They're not open anymore. Maybe we lost them. Maybe they converted to a move-in and they already converted. Or maybe they just canceled altogether, and that's how you would do it. Now you also have this ability to say why they closed that contact, right? So maybe in this case, it's because the price was too expensive. And now I cleared them out of that list. So that's the contact section. The today's receipts, this will be broken down by form of payment, so cash, check, credit, and then by chart of account. So our reporting tool collects your information when you put it into Storage Commander and breaks it out into chart of account. So meaning, where did that payment hit? Was it a prepayment? Was it rent? Was it merchandise? Was it discounts? Things like that. And it'll break it down by your chart of account, and then it'll give you a total here at the bottom. Now, your customer units tab. This is actually my favorite tab. This one here is great. On the left-hand side, you have all of your units and the status that they're in. You can scroll if you wanted to. On the right-hand side, you have all of your customers and the units that they're renting. So you can scroll here if you wanted to. A couple things I want to mention though. Now, if someone was calling in saying, hey, I want to see about renting a unit, you can search a unit if you wanted to. So maybe you wanted to search a unit number, right? I wanted to search unit 120. It'll really quickly narrow down that process. Or maybe you don't know a unit number and you just wanted to see what you have available in 10 by 10s in the status available, right? So it quickly narrows down that unit information and size and status, and now I'm only filtering by what's available. You can also search by attributes if you wanted to. If you guys wanted to search by things such as RV parking or handicap access, something like that, it'll narrow down those really quick. From this side here, if it is a rented unit, you can click on it and it'll automatically take you to that payment window that we saw earlier. Again, we'll go over a little bit more in detail later. Or if the unit is available, it'll take you directly to that move-in screen. So it automatically transitions you over to that. On the right-hand side, again, this is all of your customers. You could do a couple things here. You can search by, again, unit number if I wanted to. I can search by name, whether it be first, last. If you guys enter middle name in here, you can search by middle. So I'm going to search by last real quick. And now all I did is put BROD and it searched anybody within that status of search, right? Now I can search by name, unit number. I can include phone numbers. So now I can just start searching by phone number, and as I'm entering that information, it's going to narrow down my search. And now it's going to search me. I can also say, you know what? I need to see an active customer. So this would be previous tenants who have already moved out. Maybe they still have a balance with you that they've made arrangements that they're going to make some payments on them. Or maybe you just want to see, your previous tenants for reporting purposes, things like that. Once you say show inactive, now you're going to see your customers that are inactive and they'll have a strike through their name. Yet when you open up their accounts, they'll look exactly the same as an active customer. So one thing about Storage Commander is that we house all that customer data, but we just don't show it. It would just be a lot to show it all at one time unless you would want to see it, right? So it kind of hides in the background until you press show inactive. Now from this side here, you can sort by customer name if you'd like, or you can sort by unit number. On this side, if you right click, now we have that list view option again that we had on that sitemap. You can move them out, make a payment, transfer, adjustment, charge the account, add a comment, send a text. Those are the options again that we had on that sitemap. Or we can left click on the customer and it's going to open up their customer details window. The Charts and Gauges tab. This is really just a fun way to understand what's going on in your business today. So you have your occupancy percentage here, your aging versus prepaid, so who owes you versus who's prepaid, your net rentals, so what's your move-ins versus move-outs, your insurance saturation, so how many of your customers base has insurance with you guys or with your third party that you're carrying insurance with. Now the next section here, your contact closure. So we talked about contacts on the quick view tab. How many of those did we close? How many of them did we convert into move-ins? So contact closures here. Now again, we talked about being able to collect customer data on reservations and move-ins. So how many of our customers were phone calls? How many of them were internet, walk-in, call center? Just a quick view to see what's going on. How many of your customers are late? What percentage of them? And what percentage are on automatic payment? Now, if you have integrated payments with Storage Commander, this here will automatically update for you. No problem. Now, in this case, I'm not connected to any sort of integrated payment system as we speak, so it's going to be 0 because I don't have anybody enrolled. A couple things to note here is that this, again, is just a fun way to understand your business today. If you want more in-depth reporting, that's going to be on our reporting tool up here at the top icon, and we'll go over that in depth in a little bit. Calendar. So the calendar is a really cool tool that you can use. It's super easy but very intuitive. So a couple things here. So we can start to view different things on our calendar. So maybe you wanted to see, the last time your end of day ran, and, when your late steps hit, and what your move-ins versus move-outs were this month. And as I'm clicking these, if you've noticed, they're starting to auto-populate on the calendar. So now we're seeing, okay, well, on this date, a late step hit. On this date, we had 2 move-ins. On this date, again, a late step hit. So we're starting to auto-populate on our calendar based on this information that I want to see on it. Now from here, you can click the drop-down arrows and it'll tell you, who's in that move-in status because I clicked on move-in, or in that group. And then if I wanted a little bit more about the customer, I can double-click it to view their contract. Quickly take you there. Like I said, very cool tool, very intuitive. It adds things to the calendar based on what you want to see. And then you can also add reminders. Maybe you wanted to add an auction to remind yourself to your calendar. You can say, Missy, or let's say like auction. And then maybe you have a start and end date, and maybe it's reoccurring. Maybe it's a one-time thing, maybe it's daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. You can make it recurring and you can make it urgent, which will pop up with like this big red, I'll show you, this big red exclamation point to say, hey, this is urgent, just to remind yourself. Now, if you needed to go back into it, you can look at the details, or you can delete it if you like. Quick, easy reminder for yourself. Now the new inquiry tab. This is a really cool tab for multiple facilities. So if you're one of those companies that have sister facilities that are close to you, or if you are a single facility and maybe in the future you're looking at expanding, this is a really cool tab. What you can do here is you can search within a specific radius, right? So anywhere between 3 miles to 100 miles, and find your sister facility. And what this allows you to do is allows you to first search their inventory and see what they have available, and even allows you to move in a customer directly from your storage commander, or reserve the unit, or save a contact for them. Any one of those options you have. For instance, right here on the right hand side, you have this ability to kind of see what's available. So it'll tell you the size of the unit, it'll tell you what facility, and as you can tell, the first couple are this single facility. If you scroll down a little bit, now you're going to see the other facilities, right, and what they have available. You can filter if you wanted to, so maybe you only wanted to see units that are RV parking. Now I quickly narrowed it down and it looks like, you know what, this facility is the only one that has RV parking. I can unclick it and scroll. Now it's quick and it's easy. If I wanted to move someone into the other facility, it's the same process that you're used to. You would click the unit and you would press move in or reserve, and it would take you directly to that move in process, which is great because then the customer's standing right in front of you. You're going to collect all their information, and then when they get to that other facility, all they're really doing is moving in their stuff. So this is really a cool tool for, again, multiple facilities, or if you're ever looking to expand and get another facility, this kind of allows you to utilize that from your storage commander. The work orders tab. So this is a really cool feature that was added in Storage Commander really not that long ago. Here you can press new. So this would be to be able to track the work to be done at your facility. For instance, I hear this about 90% of the time, you'd be surprised. The customer ran into the gate, or the customer ran into our garage door. In this case, this will allow you to track the work to be done, and also allows you, if you have it somewhere in your contract, something like that, it allows you to charge the tenant if you wanted to. Like my mom used to say when I was a kid, you break it, you buy it. Maybe that's something that's in your contract, maybe not so straightforward, but maybe that's something that's in your contract, and you say, you know what, if you damage something, you're going to go ahead and we're going to add it to your contract, and you're going to have to pay for it. So in this case, I'm going to say, okay, well, I'm going to create a work order. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, Missy, Storage Commander, is the one who ran into the gate. I'm going to assign my information directly from my unit, right? So quickly auto-populated with my information. Now I'm going to walk through the work order process. From here, I can select a due date. Maybe I know it needs to be done by May 30th. Today is the date that it's created. Maybe an employee is the one who has to take ownership of it, or maybe you have a predefined vendor that comes out all the time that fixes your gate, or a predefined vendor that comes out and fixes your garage doors. You have this ability to kind of narrow that down and say who's going to fix it. And then you can leave a short description. So maybe here was, customer ran into the gate, or customer ran into the garage door. Quick, simple, easy, to the point. Then the details is where you can add as much detail as you would like. So here, maybe it might be customer fell asleep at the wheel, ran into the gate, broke these parts. This is who's going to fix it. They have an insurance policy. This is their insurance policy number. Stuff like that, so that this is who's responsible for fixing it, and you have as much detail as you like, so that later on, maybe a year from now, you pull reports on all of your work orders. Now you have this detailed information of what happened. Now, parts and labor. So here is where you would add specific items, right? So these again are predefined in Storage Commander already, and so maybe you added something such as broken gate, something like that, or broken piece, lock, something like that. You can add the item here, and then you can even charge the tenant if you like, or if that's something that your facility takes ownership of, you don't even have to charge the tenant. That's just an option that you have here. And then under the completion section, now we want to say, okay, well, what's the date it was actually completed? Who is it actually completed by? Was there any sort of warranty type that we created, again, predefined on the back end of Storage Commander? Was there a warranty type? So did the gate have a warranty, or did the garage door have a warranty? And then when does it expire? And then up here is where we say, okay, well, what is our order status? Is it open? Is it completed? Is it canceled, deleted? And you have this ability to kind of say short description. Cool. So now I pop up on the lines here, and we have this ability to kind of view all orders, inactive orders, active orders, and we can go back into them if needed. So we can click on them, open them back up, make sure the information is still accurate, or we can mark them as a different status. We could say they were canceled or deleted or complete, right? So maybe we've already completed this and it's good to go, no big deal. Maybe you wanted to print this. You can print it, you can email it here by just simply clicking email, and you can email it out. And those are your work orders. Super cool option that we're giving you for Storage Commander. Now those are your tabs. So we talked about your sitemap, your quick view, your customer units, your charts and gauges, your calendar, your new inquiry, and your work orders. The next things that we're going to jump to is going to be your icons here. And from here, we're going to do a test move in. We'll do a move out so you can see what happens there. We'll do a payment, transfer, adjustment, etc. We'll kind of walk through those. The last thing we'll end on is reporting. So that one is a little bit more extensive and has a lot of information on it. So we'll go ahead and do that kind of last. So we'll kind of skip over that, okay? So in this case, we'll go ahead and jump directly to a move-in. So we talked about that process looking very similar to the reservation process, right? And I told you the only difference is going to be that billing details. That bread and butter is going to look a little different. So let's walk through that process together. So here is our move-in. We select the unit if we'd like. If we select has a vehicle here, then all of a sudden a tab will pop up here for you to collect that vehicle information. So let's go ahead and move forward. From this section here, I can search the unit number. So maybe you know exactly the unit number that you wanted to move the customer into. I could do that. I can also filter. Same thing as I was used to on that customer units tab. I can filter by condition. I can filter by size. So maybe again, size. Maybe I wanted to filter only by 10 by 10s. I could do that. So these options that we have here. In this case, I'm just going to select the first one that pops up. Again, collect as much information as your company requires or as you are requiring for, your business. In this case, I'm going to just put a first and last name, which is me, Missy Battistoni. I'm a previous tenant of yours, or I already have a unit with you. So you don't want to have to fill out all of this information again, right? You can actually select existing customer, and now I can select me from here, and I'm going to fill out all of this information real quick. So I'm going to say, okay. It's going to auto-populate here, and it's going to say, do you want all of this information to be copied over to this customer? And we're going to say, okay, well, all of the notes, alternates, additional contacts will be copied over automatically. Okay, cool. And then if I had, again, an integrated payment system in Storage Commander, I would even have the ability to transfer over the automatic payment on my other unit. So super cool feature. Once I press OK, now it copied all of that data over so that I don't have to redo it. Or, so that's if, right? So I just picked someone if I was a current customer of yours, but I had a different unit. Or if I was a past customer, I can actually go show inactive like I did on that customer units tab, and now it's going to show everybody with the strike through their name that was a inactive customer, and I can even pull my data in from there and it'll look exactly the same. Again, I can pull my info from this and press OK, and it's going to say, do you want to pull all this information over? We're going to say OK, and now it's pulling all of that info over from that customer data screen. So this is a really cool tool to use, and it's quick and it's easy. Definitely utilize it. I would recommend. So now from here, I'm going to go ahead and move forward, and it's freed up that vehicle tab for me because remember when I said select unit, I clicked vehicle. Now I can fill out this vehicle tab if I'd like. Alternate contact. So if I wanted to add my alternate here, I can add my info here. I would enter any information I needed to collect from my alternate to add an address, again, kind of like we talked about on reservation. To free this section up, you can press new and it'll free that up and you can enter that info now. I'm just going to press OK in this case. So now this is what an alternate contact would look like. It would give you the name, the phone number, the email, the address, and you have this ability to either press edit or delete. Photos, again, we kind of talked about this, but photos would be for something similar to if you wanted to take a scan of a customer's ID or something like that. This would be a great place to house that information. You can press new, name it something, so maybe it's Missy's ID, and then you would scan the image if you have a scanner set up to your computer. If you do not, and you just have an image on your computer, you can also, again, import it. Notes and comments. Do I need to add any sort of notes and comments during move-in? You can add that here. So you can add a note, or maybe I wanted to add a comment. In this case, all of my comments came over, right? So we talked about kind of bringing all that information, notes, comments, alerts over from my other unit. And in this case, it did that for me. So sweet. I noticed that it has all of my information here from my testing. Awesome. Now alerts, maybe I wanted to add an alert here. I can do that. Merchandise. So let's go ahead and add a merchandise item upon move-in. Let's go ahead and add this large box. I'm going to go ahead and add the large box. All I did is press add to cart. I can increase the quantity if I wanted to. So maybe I wanted to have 2 of these instead of 1. I can do that. And then maybe I have a merchandise discount. So I have a 10% discount I want to go ahead and add to this. I can do that just quickly upon move-in. And then maybe I want to add insurance. So I know that I want this $6.95 insurance for this customer's requesting. I can go ahead and do that. I can select it. Or maybe it's customer declines the insurance and they're going to come and bring me their insurance. You can say declines here. Okay, so the billing detail screen. This is where we talked about being like the bread and butter of your transaction. This is where we double check our work, make sure everything looks good, and it has so much information here. So it looks a little different than your reservations billing details screen, but we'll go ahead and go through it. So on the left-hand side at the top here, we still can collect that marketing data, right? So we can say, okay, well, this customer was a phone call. They were a military customer, and maybe they heard about us from a drive-by, and they really want to go with us because our prices were so good. Now on the right hand side, this is, you know, a lot of information here, but it tells you their rate, tells you their move-in date, the size of the unit, which will auto-populate based on that unit size that we picked here. It'll give you their number of payments. So if I wanted to prepay for 6 months, I would increase the number of payments here. And as you can tell, that bright red box popped up behind it. That just means you have to recalculate something in your basket. So once I click that, it'll automatically recalculate everything, and now everything should be good to go in my basket. Now my projected paid through date here is correct. My billing plan, so if I had more than one billing plan here, I can change it upon move-in. So maybe I was someone that was military and I wanted to change that, I could do that. Lease number. So this would be used, for instance, for a facility that still utilizes paper leases. Things that have numbers already on them, right? And you're having the customer sign the piece of paper and you house it in your file cabinet. Now you're taking that lease number from that piece of paper that you have and you're putting it into Storage Commander with the expiration date. Now, if you are fully digital, this is not necessary because Storage Commander already tracks this information. You can enter gate access information. So one thing about Storage Commander is we do integrate with multiple different gate systems, fully integrate with them. If you go to our website at www.storagecommander.com, we have a page on there that tells you who we integrate with. If for some reason you have a gate system that we do not integrate with, you can actually hand key their access information here so that, you know, when you go into their account in Storage Commander, now you still have access to their access code and their time zone and their keypad. You have this information in here. You have the ability to say don't prorate. So basically you're not charging for the month of move-in, right? So in this case, I'm saying, hey, I'm moving in on the 30th today and I'm a first of the month charging for a facility. That means I'm going to get charged again tomorrow. So it's just kind of a lot maybe for a customer or a facility. So maybe you're saying don't prorate this month so that, you know what, we're just not going to charge them that $2 and we're going to start fresh tomorrow and they're only going to get charged the full amount starting tomorrow. You can say that, don't prorate. And then now when I recalculate, it's going to clear out this month. I'll show you real quick. See? Real quick. Now during move-in, you also have this ability to add any sort of fees, discounts, things like that. So maybe I've made it known to you that I want a paper invoice and you have an invoice fee here. You would add that to my account, right? Maybe also I have a 10% off military discount because I told you I was military. You can add that here. So you have these different areas here that again are going to be predefined during your conversion process to Storage Commander. And we can add these different promotions and discounts in, and then you add them upon move-in. So you have this ability to do that. Now services, maybe you have some sort of services such as moving trucks that you have at your facility and you can add them in Storage Commander. Deposit, same thing. These can automatically apply or you can add them manually if you like. In this case, now these are both added, it's going to ask me to recalculate. I'm recalculating and now it's adding that invoice fee every single month because I get an invoice every single month to my transaction. Now my transaction here, now I have all of my info. So I will make it one payment so that you can kind of see what it looks like. So I have my burglary, which is my insurance, right? That automatically is going to be the full amount. I have my admin fee that's automatically applying because I have that set in my billing details to automatically apply, which is $10. I just added a fee, a reoccurring fee of an invoice every single month of $2. I have my large box, which I added on the merchandise tab, which is $2. I do have a 10% merchandise discount on that box, which is 20 cents. And then I have sales tax here, which again, in this case, the sales tax is only applying to sales of products, which is going to be the merchandise item. If I would have had rental tax, then it would also apply to my rent, which would be on my unit. So those are my items that I have here. let's go ahead and take a look at where those things are hitting. So down here at the bottom, you see a whole summary of your transaction, what the rent is due, what discounts are hitting, what fees, what deposit. And remember, rent due this month is going to be $0 technically, because we said that we're going to not prorate, or we're going to say don't prorate, so they're not getting charged for this month's move-in, right? So that's that $0. What's going to hit merchandise, insurance, taxes, and then total due, etc. Now, in this case, maybe I want to make a 2-month prepayment because I'm going to pay for next month too, because tomorrow is the 1st. Might as well pay for next month. Now that military discount took effect, right? Because that discount only applies to rent. Whereas before, I wasn't paying for this month's rent, so it wouldn't have taken effect. So now I have my burglary, my admin fee for my initial move-in, my invoice fee, my first of the month would actually be tomorrow, my burglary again, which would be tomorrow, my invoice fee again, military discount, and then my large box and my large box discount and sales tax. So now we're good to go. Now the next section here is going to be the accept payment window. So I'll make this a little bit smaller. From the accept payment window, you can actually accept payment with as many forms of payment as you like. You could do cash, check, credit, any form. And by doing that, you can say, you know what, this customer only wants to make $10 cash. Cool. You select the cash option, and then you would select check. Maybe the check number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then here they only wanted to make $10 check. Awesome. Now when they get to credit card, now it's going again to auto-populate with that remaining amount, and that's $72 here. Couple things to note in Storage Commander. When you're on the credit card page, you can scan your card. So if you have a terminal, again, if you have an integrated payment system with Storage Commander, you will have a scan card option here. And by selecting this actually automatically turns on and lights up your terminal, right? So that's what activates your terminal and makes it good to go and ready to take payment. Couple things you can do here. We could say manually enter card if we wanted to. In this case, that would be if someone was calling over the phone saying, hey, can I make a payment over the phone, or something like that. Once you select this and press scan card, you would hand key that card number onto the PIN pad. If we said previous transaction, this here now grayed out my scan card, right? And what that does is this would be something on the lines of, all we're trying to do is make Storage Commander up to date, and we've already charged the customer. So maybe this was your system was down, or during conversion you took payment in your previous software, and all we're trying to do here is just make sure that the customer moves in properly. That's what this would be used for. You can also enroll a customer into automatic payment directly from the move-in screen. All you have to do is select this. Again, if I had a terminal set up, it wouldn't be grayed out. All you have to do is select this, and now this customer is automatically enrolled into automatic payment, so that the next time that they owe, it's going to pop up, and it's going to pop up on your payment screen. So I'll show you what that looks like in just a sec. You also have your select prior card screen. So I will show you what that looks like on a current tenant. But what happens is Storage Commander is 100% PCI compliant. We pride ourselves on that. It's great that we have that. Not everybody has that ability to say that. And what that means is we don't house any credit card information with Storage Commander. That protects the facility, it protects the customer, and it's great. What actually does it is that it's called tokenizing a card. And what that means is once you enter that card into the terminal, it kind of jumbles up the credit card information, and that's what's called tokenizing. And it's actually housed with the merchant itself. And then what happens is it'll house the last 3 cards on file. So if someone called you and said, hey, can you just charge the last card you charged me last month? You'll have this option to see the last 4 digits of that card number, and you can select it, and you can just charge that card on file. You have this ability to do that. So that's great. So you have these last 3 cards on file. You can scan a current card, swipe, scan, whatever you prefer. You can manually enter a card number, so you would select that option and hand key that card. But this scan card really is what you want to make sure you press, because this is what activates your terminal. It makes sure that it sends a signal to your terminal so that you can do what you need to do on your terminal side. In this case, because it's a test transaction, I am going to take cash. So I will press finish here. The receipt window will give me a couple different options here. It'll give me if I have an insurance contract already attached. In this case, I do. I have a rental contract already attached. Those should be already predefined during conversion. I can print them, I can email them, I can view all of these, including the receipt. And I can also registered email if that's something that you guys signed up for. In this case, if you needed to change the email address that it was being sent to, you can change that now, and you can also save that email address on file, which is great. In this case, I'm just going to view it so you can kind of see what it looks like. This is already predefined in Storage Commander, not your lease, your receipt, right? So this is predefined in Storage Commander. This is what it looks like. It tells you a breakdown of your charges, your payments, and whatnot, and where it applied. So this is just a quick breakdown of that. Your contracts, on the other hand, are provided to us by the facility. This is a fake one here that we've created for Storage Commander. Awesome. So I'm just going to press close and continue on. So that is a move-in. Now I just want to double check my work, make sure everything is good to go on that customer. I'm going to go to this customer units tab and make sure I'm in here, right? So I'm going to search me, and this is that unit that I just moved into. And here's that alert that I talked about. It pops up, it's cool, it's big, it's red, and it'll tell you what you need to do. So whether that be that, again, that credit card is expired, or maybe an ID is expired, something like that, it'll pop up. Now let's talk about the billing details page now. So this is going to be all about the customer details page. This is going to be all about your customer, right? So it'll tell you their move-in date, their balance. So if there is parentheses like this, it means that they have a credit on their account. So this is because I prepaid, right? So I'm a prepaid customer. My paid through date, my next charge, which makes sense, right? Because it's based off the correct amount of days in June, and then I owe in July. My delinquency status, I'm current, right? Because I don't owe anything. My overlock status, I'm not overlocked, I'm not late. My late steps, so I can be in any one of these late steps, but in this case I just moved in and I have a credit balance on my account. I'm not any sort of late step. My access code information over here, if I needed to come back in to add access code information, I could do that now. So maybe I needed to add an access code in here. It'll tell me my rate, my pay on date, and then here's that lease information we talked about. Now, if you are a facility that needed to change the billing plan, you can actually do so here. So maybe I accidentally told the facility that I wanted first of the month, but I'm actually military, so I needed to be on this military option. You could do that here and quickly change that billing plan. Now, we talked about enrolling a customer into automatic payment directly from that payment window, right? And you can do that from move-in, you could do that from payment, any one of those options. Now, the auto payment section here, if I would have been enrolled, would tell you the last 4 of their card number, and it'll show you here that they're enrolled. Now, if I wanted to enroll a customer into automatic payment without charging the customer, right? So in this case, maybe I'm the customer and I came back in 2 hours later and said, you know what, I'm really sorry, I just moved in today and I decided I wanted to be enrolled into automatic payment. You would come here, you would, see this option for automatic payment, and you would go down to credit card. And it'll pop up on a window here. And what you want to do here is you can enter the name on the card, and then you have that option to manually enter the card number, and then you would press scan card. And again, this is what we talked about, will tokenize the credit card information. It'll jumble that up and then it'll house it with the merchant. So once you press scan card here, that's when it'll activate your terminal and you'll be able to enter that information here. And once you press OK, I'll put test here. Once it's all approved and good to go, it'll be housed here. And again, the golden ticket we've talked about, but the golden ticket here is always going to be finish. You want to press finish on anything on your customer contract details. That saves your work. Just make sure. Because if you press escape out, it might not have saved what you did. So you want to make sure that you go ahead and press finish. So that's automatic payment. We have the ability to look at reoccurring items here. So in this case, I have the burglary insurance for $1,000, right? But maybe I don't want that anymore. I want to change my insurance. Or maybe I wanted to add it at a later time. You would come in here, you would go into the settings, and this is where I can add or take away things that are reoccurring items. Maybe I actually needed the $5,000 one and I just totally spaced out as a customer and I only got the $1,000 one. I can say, you know what, let me delete this one. I can delete it off the system and I will add that $5,000 one in now, and then it'll add it to that customer's account. So once I press finish, now they're enrolled into that $16 plan for $5,000 burglary. Those are the options. Now, under these reoccurring items, you can also add different things in here. So maybe you added your burglary correctly now, or maybe you needed to just add a discount. You can add that under reoccurring, something like that. Okay, now from here, you do have this option to quickly click Enable Online Access. It's automatically clicked already when you move someone in. So if you have the ability for online move-ins, that means or online move-ins, online payments, something like that, they'll have the ability to do those things. If you unclick this, a lot of times people, for instance, that maybe haven't paid you in a while or are in auction status, maybe you don't want them to have access to online payments because you are forcing them to come into the location to make that payment. You would select this, deselect this and press finish. And then once you save that, we're going to go back in again and double check our work. Once it saves, now that customer does not have the ability to make online payments. They're going to go and it's not going to allow them to do that. So they will have to be forced to either call you or come into the facility to make that payment. But if you notice, after I pressed finished and came back in, the burglary insurance saved and the enable online access saved here. Now, if you needed to edit customer details, so maybe their contact info changed, right? You can come to the customer tab and change their info here. So maybe you needed to add a new address or add a phone number, you could do that. Or maybe their alternate contact changed, you could do that too. Couple options here that you have. Or maybe they decided to add an authorized access. So again, the customer is the husband, the alternate wife, or alternate contact is the wife, and maybe the authorized access is the son, who just needs access to the unit at any time to grab stuff for his parents, but doesn't have to be held responsible for any sort of fees, anything like that. You just need to know that, hey, he's able to enter this unit. You can enter his stuff here. Now you also have the ability to kind of go back in, add those comments, notes, anything like that. You can also go to their ledger and history. So this is really cool. You have two different views. You have their manager view, which is just a quick overview of what happened with that customer, right? Or you have the accountant view, which is a deep dive in the accounting aspect of where that transaction hit in the system. So for instance, rent hit, and that's how much rent was, but where did rent hit on the chart of accounts for reporting purposes? That's where it hit, right? So it's going to be a lot more in-depth than what you're used to on the manager view, but it's really in detail. You have the ability here to, if you wanted to, print the receipt, open the receipt, email it. So this would be reprint, email it, print it, whichever you prefer. You can also reprint, email the contract, or the insurance addendum in this case. You have those abilities here. And then also here, it'll tell you, hey, you did this change to this billing plan, which was first of the month to military, right? Because that's what we did earlier. You have the ability to insert a document. So maybe you have from your previous conversion, you have this document for this customer. Maybe it's, you're going from paper leases to digital and you want to upload their original lease. You can do that. You can insert a document by just clicking insert document. You can browse your computer here. We could say, okay, we're going to do a document. I'm just going to pick one that I have here. And we give it a description, a short description. If it's too long, it's going to give you some sort of error code. So here, we'll go ahead and put, test, right? Once I upload this file, I'm going to press upload and it's going to say import successfully. And now all of a sudden I have this document that I put into their ledger and history. I also have this ability to print their history. So if you had them as a customer for 5 years and you needed to kind of look at their history as a whole, you can print it and you can say, okay, let me print it, and you would print it to your local computer or printer. You can also have this ability to say, I only want to see the history for unit 31, or I want to see all history for Missy because she has multiple units. Now all of a sudden I can see, okay, well, on unit 31 this is what she did, but on unit 35 this is what happened. She made a payment of $92 cash and she's good to go. And as you can tell, you now have a lot more information because we're looking at 2 units. But if I went into 35, which is the one we originally moved into, now we have this ability to kind of see, okay, what do we have the option to do? We can even reverse transactions directly from the ledger and history. Super easy too. If I wanted to reverse this, I have to do it before my end of day process runs. And it has to be the last thing that was done on my account. So if I, after this, did an adjustment, it's not going to let me reverse it. So in this case, I'm going to press reverse just so you can see what happens. And I'm going to press yes. And it's going to have a big red stripe through it saying, hey, this has been reversed. Once I press finish, it's going to immediately take me from the current and ready status. It's going to put me back in an available unit because I reversed the move-in. It's as if it never happened. So that's the move-in process here. Move out. Let's talk about move out, right? So let me find me. When I clicked the icon move out, I'll go ahead and select me as far as owing money. I can also add merchandise upon move out, right? So I'm just pressing next, going through this move-in process here. I can select a large box if I wanted to and add that to my cart. Move out options here. So these are the options you have to move out. So in this case, I'm qualified for auction status because I haven't paid in a while on this unit. So we have a couple different things here. My rate is $45, but I owe $340. I can even say do not rent again. So maybe in this case, we're saying, hey, you know what? If this customer tries to rent from us again, we are not going to allow it. So it's going to alert you, hey, don't rent again. So you have this box to check that. we can select their move out date. So maybe they're, want to move out today. We can select that as today. And you can also say the reason for leaving. So maybe, again, is a reason for location or price. You have this ability during move out. You can waive certain items if you would like during move out. You can add fees and discounts and services similar to what you were used to on that move in. And then we have this ability to say, okay, well, what are we going to do? This customer owes us $340. We can accept payment here, and the payment window is going to look the same whether it's move in, move out, payments, things like that, because cash, check, credit, all of that is going to be the same window. We tried to make that streamlined across the board for all payment windows. Maybe in this case, what I want to show it as uncollected because this customer never paid us. So what's going to happen is this box is going to say, hey, you want to move out? Are you sure? Yes. And now it pops up as this options, right? It has an outstanding balance. What do we want to do with that? Do we want to make a payment? Does the customer want to make a payment? We would select that option. Do we want to show it as uncollected funds? So this would be like, for instance, bad debt. This would show as uncollected. Do we want to transfer to another contract? So maybe, I have 5 units. Maybe I'm just going to say, you know what? I'm going to move out of this one, but can you just transfer that balance to my other one? You can transfer that to another contract. Or maybe you want to hold it on the account. So you can hold it on the customer's account. Maybe you've made some sort of arrangement saying, hey, they're going to come back tomorrow and they're going to pay. So you can hold it on their account, and then you can go back in and search for inactive customers like we did on that customer units tab, and we can make a payment on their account, and then they would be fine. In this case, I'm going to say we will show as uncollected. And it'll show up as bad debt in this case. And we're going to close this because I don't need a receipt, but if you needed one, you can email it, you can view it, you can print it. So that's the move out process. Now let me show you someone who has a credit on their account for a move out. It'll look very similar to that process. Again, I can add a piece of merchandise, move out here, so it'll give me that alert, right? Because, hey, I added this alert on this account and I never deleted it, so it's going to pop up here. Now, if I have this credit balance on the account and I press finish, now these are the options I have on a credit. Does the customer just want to forfeit it? Hey, you know what? I haven't heard from them. They said it was fine to just, they moved out of the state. They're good. They don't need it. Something like that. Or maybe they want to transfer to their other contract. Again, maybe I have another unit that I want to transfer to. You have that ability. Or maybe you want to refund the customer. So you have this ability to refund cash, refund check, those options there, refund credit, and you can do that from your merchant, things like that. You have these options here. And it's quick and it's easy, and you have these abilities to do that. Now, if I was current, so we showed you what it would be like to move out if I had a balance. We showed you what it would be like if I had a credit. Now, if I was current, neither one of those options would pop up. I would just press move out and it would press OK, and I'd be good to go. This options box would not pop up. Payment looks very similar to that, right? So I can either search, I can scroll, I can put a customer name, a phone number. Maybe I want to search by me. And in this case, again, I can add a piece of merchandise. Or I can come to the payment options window, and now here's the breakdown. So this is where we want to see what the rate is, what my paid through date is, what my billing plan is, right? So now maybe I want to prepay again for 6 months. I will increase my number of payments. I will recalculate my payments because that's what it's asking me to do. And then now it'll give me the total due, and it'll give me the breakdown of my current transaction, right? So it'll say this is this month's rent that you're paying for. And then it'll give you the discount and the burglary and everything that's reoccurring, right? And then it'll break it down per month for 6 months. It'll give you a new projected paid through date, and then a total due at the bottom with a summary of where those things are hitting in Storage Commander. Was it rent, discounts, merchandise, fees, insurance, things like that, and then a total due. And the accept payment, like I mentioned before, is going to look exactly the same. You can still split forms of payment with as many different forms of payment as you like. You would just select one and hand key the amount. You would press check and hand key, whatever amount you want to do here. Maybe the check number again was 12345. Now, if you guys require collecting the rest of the check number here, please feel free to do so. But for me to press finish, the only thing I need here is a check number. This is also where you would want to put a money order number. So we see our customers a lot put MO, and then they enter that check number or that money order number here as well. So that's where you would do that. And maybe when I get to credit card again, I want to, put the remainder on a credit card. So you have all of these different options here. Cool, so that's payment. NSF check. So this would be maybe you have a check number or that came back to you because it bounced. So you want to search that check number. Let's see if I have one in here. You want to search that check number for an NSF, and it looks like I do have one in here. So this check came back to us on unit 15. This bounced, so I'll search that check number here, press search. It found that unit in which it's attached to. I'm going to take Leanne as an option here. I'm going to press next, and it's going to confirm, is this the correct unit that has that balance? Is this the amount the check was? And we're going to say finish, and then we're going to go back into Leanna's account because it's automatically going to post that as an NSF, and it's going to create this NSF notice to this customer letting them know, hey, this check was an NSF issue. So let me search her. Oops. Yeah, there we go. And now I'm going to click on her account to open up her customer details page. And we're going to go to her ledger and history. And now we added back on that $748. It automatically does it for you. You don't even have to go back in, do an adjustment, anything. Once you say that it's an NSF check, it'll automatically add that balance back on, and it'll say bounce check on their ledger and history. You can even come back here. You can open and view the notice. You can email it. You can print it. If you're registered to do registered email, you can registered email it. And now her balance went from owing only $360 to the $1134 that she owes because that check bounced. Super cool and quick and easy. Transfer. So if I was a customer who wants to transfer to a different unit, that's where you would use this tab. You would go into transfer. You would select the customer that wants to transfer. You would select the new unit that they want to transfer into. And then it will have you recalculate. So maybe the rate is different. Maybe they have a balance or a credit on their account. We would recalculate. In this case, it's the same rate. So same rate, same unit type, things like that. Once I press finish, I'm going to automatically be in that new unit. So it's going to take me out of 31, put me into 35. So once I press finish, that's it. It's quick, it's easy. And now if I search me for unit number, it's going to have me in 35 instead of 31. So I'm going to search unit 35 here under this search tab. And now look at me, I'm in 35 as of today. And everything transferred over, including my balance. Adjustments. So this is very important here. I'm going to take one that actually I am qualified for auction in, so you can kind of see the difference here. Okay. Adjustments. There's a couple of things to note on adjustments. So there's past due and prepaid items, which is in this darker box. And then there's future months rent at the bottom. Meaning, if you told someone, hey, you know what? I'll go ahead and waive your late fee of $10. you would want to do it off of the past due and prepaid items. It's already up here. You can just quickly click on it and you can see it automatically takes off the full amount. Maybe you told them you only wanted to take off the $5 instead of $10. You can also hand key certain amounts as well. Now, maybe you didn't see it up here and you took it off of future month's rent, right? So we're going to unclick this and we're going to say we're going to give them a $10 credit. The only difference with taking it off of future month's rent is that it is not going to take effect until they owe again. Meaning if they're prepaid for 6 months, that's not going to take effect until that 7th month. Now, if I was not past due, not prepaid, and there would be nothing up here, right? You would have to take it off of future month's rent. So you would go in here and you adjust it off the account. An explanation is necessary. So we would say testing for and one thing to rule of thumb for Storage Commander is we do leave our initials anytime we do a adjustment for you. And that's how you would do it. And once I press finish, it automatically adds a $10 credit balance. Anything in parentheses is going to be a credit balance. Anything that is not in parentheses is going to add a balance to their account. Reservations we went over. End of day. So we have two different options here. We have manual end of day, which just takes you to here at your end of day. Maybe it's 5 o'clock at night that you leave. You would come in here, you would make sure you run your end of day. As you can tell, once I hit end of day, it's saying, hey, there's something on your to-do list that isn't done. Would you like to view this list before you continue? So all of these items are not completed yet. So this is, again, for the facility manager to walk the facility, make sure everything is good to go, and that's how they continue on. In this case, I'm going to say, no, I don't want to view it. And this is the process of your end of day. It'll process all of your auto charges if you have end of day payment or integrated payments. It'll print your notices when your end of day completes. You can email your statements out if you like, and these are the options you have, and you can press start. Now that's manual. If you go automatic end of day, that's an option that you have too, and that would run at 12:01 a.m. And it would also process all your auto charges, generate all of your notices, make sure all your statements are good to go, and it makes Storage Commander up to date. All of your reporting, things like that. It just, a lot of times would be better to go automatic end of day if you have like online move-ins, online rentals, online reservations, payments, things like that, so that you give someone a full day to make their payment instead of only until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. They can go online and make a payment at 11 o'clock at night and they're still not in that late step that's going to hit. So that's a positive too. Two different options. You would just have to let your account manager know, or our technical support team. Reports we'll kind of skip over right now. Like I said, we'll kind of end there. Documents queue. So this is pending documentation going out to the customer, okay? So anything pending. So for instance, if just like I did earlier, I decided I didn't want to print a receipt, the system knows that we didn't print it, we didn't email it, nothing. So it's going to show up in my pending documents because it's still pending. So maybe all of your auction notices pop up here, your late steps hit, tomorrow or today. So your, lien notices print or generate, things like that. So this is all of your pending documentation going out to the customer. As you can tell, there's like an insurance addendum, an invoice that needs to go out. From here, you can select all in that criteria, print them if you wanted to, email them if you wanted to, and it automatically will send those out. If there's not an email on file, then afterwards you might want to come back in and print. So for instance, in this case, it's saying there's no email, which means there's not one on file for this customer. But if it says no under email section here, it just means it hasn't been emailed yet, and it hasn't been printed, and it hasn't been texted. So you have these options here to kind of see, okay, well, if I was to print it now, this is going to say yes, so you know that it's been printed out. Another thing, it'll automatically update if you've sent these out, so it'll clear them out as you're doing that. This is a queue that I say live in once a day. Maybe when you come in the morning, especially if you have online payments, to see if anything's pending going out to your customers. Maybe it's a, maybe it's a contract, or maybe it's a receipt, or maybe it's something that you need to send out to your customer directly. This would be really great to send that out every morning. This would be good to live in so that you can kind of see what's been going on in the business today. Auction. So if you needed to schedule an auction for the customer, you would select this icon and select the contract in which you want to schedule for auction. So we would say Leanna, and now we would schedule the date. So auction time and date. Once you hit down, you can even set a time. So maybe it's today you want to set at a different time. Maybe it's 5:45 p.m. You can do that. And you can even set fees. So maybe you have an auction fee that you automatically charge for auction status. You can add that here. And then we have predefined notices in Storage Commander that have an auction notice. However, if you have your own that you've uploaded, you can also add that here. And then once I press OK, I can schedule an auction and press OK, and then this will pop up in my pending documents queue, and it'll say, hey, this is a pending document going out to the customer. Do you want to send them their auction notice? And so now I can send that out if I needed to. Rate change. This is a really cool feature here. So this would be for current tenants. So any tenants that you have in your system today, you have this ability to create a rate change for them. You would name it. So maybe it's, quarterly rate change. And category would be like increase, right? So maybe we're going to do a percentage. Maybe you want to do 2%. And you want to say, okay, so we're going to increase the amount by 2%, but we don't want to exceed a total value of $20. That would just be too much, right? Maybe you think that's too much. You can also say prorate prepaid amounts, and this would apply the rate now and charge the customer the difference if they're prepaid. You can also say round the amount. So round the amount to the nearest whole number. You can say don't exceed the base rate. This would keep the rate from exceeding the default rate of the unit size. So maybe you've identified this customer as paying 10% less than what the street rate is. Once they hit the street rate, we can say they don't need to exceed anything more than that. We can also print a notice. So we can say, hey, you know what? We want to have the notice sent out to the customer for a rate change. And in this case, we're going to say, all right, so we're just going to say that's the rate change. Maybe it's predefined already in this case. And then we're going to say days before. So when do we want this notice to go out? Maybe you only want it 10 days before. Maybe you want it 2 months before. Maybe that's what you want to do. And you can also create copies. You can make it reoccurring. So maybe you want it to start January 1st and you want it to reoccur every 12-month period. So that means it's going to be a 2% increase starting January and happening every January, right? So after you create this, now we're going to go to apply those changes, and we can kind of narrow down who we apply that rate change to. So of course we want to go to our quarterly rate change because that's what we just named it and we created it. And now we're going to narrow it down to size. So maybe we want it to be this 10 by 20. We want to say, hey, you know what? We don't want this to take effect on anyone who moved in, except for people, who moved in prior to 2019. So we're going to go back and we're going to say April 1st of 2019. And then you can also say last change. So maybe you want to say their last rate change was before or after a specific date. So then, you can select this option. Maybe you also want to say you only want it to apply to a unit with these specific attributes. You can do that. You can also say, hey, you know what? I only want it to apply to customers who have a rate with this dollar value or higher or lower than that dollar value, right? So now you're kind of narrowing down the search criteria. I'm going to leave it as this move in before 4/1 of 2019, and I'm going to search it. And these are all my customers in that search criteria, right? Now I can apply that change, and then when I decided for my rate change to come into effect, I would select that date. So I can say maybe I want it to come into effect in my next quarter. So maybe it's, July 1st. I want it to come into effect July 1st. I'm going to apply the changes. Are we sure we want to apply this? I'm going to say yes. And now those people are going to be increased by that 2%, and they're going to get sent out that notice that we created when we created that change. And now it's automatically created. And we can view the pending rate changes if we wanted to by date. We can look at them, we can edit them, things like that. So this is really cool. It's a cool feature for our current tenants, right? Now we can also sell merchandise to the public. So we talked about how you could do it, during payment. We could talk about how to do it even during, move out if you wanted to, during move in, during payment, transfer, all of these different options. Now this is how you would actually sell merchandise to the public if you wanted to. This would turn your system into a point of sale only. It wouldn't attach it to a customer's account. You would select the item, and then once you get to the accept payment window, again, it looks exactly the same. So now you're just selling this piece of merchandise to the public. And that's how you would do that. Calendar we already talked about. Contacts we talked about. Search, this is a really cool feature. So maybe you have some contract info, first name, last name, email address, right? So I'm going to do Missy at Storage Commander. And I'm going to try to find me. And it's going to find the contract in which I'm attached to. So this would be great, for instance, if someone was sending you a check in the mail and you had their address. This would be a great place to look, or a first or last name. You're not really sure. This would be a great place to look. You can also search by payment. You can also search by vehicle. So if you collect vehicle info and maybe they're blocking you, you can search their vehicle info because you put their vehicle info in here and it'll find them. So super quick, easy, advanced search tool to be able to search the customer real quick. And then once you find them, look at, here I am. Now I have this ability to open up my contract details. Now I just quickly found me, opened up my contract, we're good to go. Or I could quickly go to payment. Quickly takes me to my payment. And I have linked accounts. And I'll walk you through how to do that under miscellaneous items in just a sec. And now I can either select all to make a payment through all of them, or just make a payment on just one. Just quick, easy, advanced search tool. It is awesome. Now the prorate calculator. This is a really cool tool if you prorate, or if you're first in the month billing or something like that. This is a really cool tool to use. I definitely recommend utilizing it, because sometimes people don't know. If I'm calling into you today saying, hey, how much would my payment be if I moved in today for today's rent, and I'm moving in today on $100 monthly rate on my unit, it automatically does it for you, right? So maybe this is $150. Oops, sorry. Maybe this is $150. We can change the rate there. And we can say, okay, $150. And now when I click somewhere else, it's going to recalculate the value. You can do that. Now you can also do it on move out, okay? And you can do it on unused days or used days, okay? So you have this ability to kind of do that. So days used, if I did it on days used, my prorate amount for the days used would be $147. My daily prorate, we already talked about, was $4.93. Or basic, so maybe you wanted to create your own here based on a 30-day prorate, you can do that too. Super cool, quick, very great for people who are like calling in, or just a quick, like they're walking into your facility, hey, could you just let me know? And you don't want to do the full move-in process to calculate that. This calculator is a great tool for you. Now, reports, like we said, we're going to end on, so we'll come back. There's a couple things I wanted to kind of mention. We talked about being able to sell merchandise to a customer by charging their account, right? By making a payment, move in, to the public, by merchandise. You can also just say charge the account, and this would add that piece of merchandise, fee, insurance directly to their account, so that when they owe next time, it charges their account. So that was right-clicking. Again, that option to right-click and charge the account. Now, you also have the ability here to receive and adjust inventory. So if you have 10 boxes coming in and you know you're going to receive them, right now it says we have 221 on hand. We need to receive 10 more though, because they're coming in. We would add it to the inventory. We would add 10 more, and we would press OK. And now we just added 10 to our inventory. Good to go. So that's how you would receive inventory. Now, if you needed to adjust inventory, this is how you adjust inventory. So maybe you have the option here, or the issue where, you know what, it says you have 231 boxes, but you actually only have 221 boxes. We would say, okay, we need to adjust this off. And again, this is 10 because we're going from 231 to 221, and we're going to say can't find 10 boxes. And we're going to say lost this inventory. And then I can press OK. And then maybe, a month down the road when you're doing an inventory audit, you find that inventory. So you come back in here and you say found inventory. So now you just equaled yourself out. So this is the way you would adjust your inventory. Super quick, super easy. And I would press OK, and now it's adjusted that inventory. Now, a couple other things I really wanted to note here under the activities. I really like the activities tab. If all else fails, I always say check the activities tab first. There's a lot of info here, and a lot of our stuff lives in the activities tab. To link and unlink contracts. So we talked about if I was to make a payment and I have multiple units and I want to make a payment across all, we would want to link the contracts together. We can press link. All we would do is select the primary contract. So maybe it's me, I'm looking for Missy. I would select me. And then the secondary contract, I would select my other unit. And maybe it's multiple. I can select me, and then I would press Control on my keyboard, and I can select as many as I want. So now I'm linking all of these contracts together, all together. But one thing I want to note is once I press OK, it is going to change the information on these accounts to match the primary contract information. So instead of saying Missy Storage Commander, it's going to say Missy Battistoni now, and it's going to have the same information as my original primary contract. And that's how you would do that. So if I press OK, now I've linked them all together. And if I go to make a payment on those accounts, I'm going to be linked together. Once it loads, we'll go ahead and make a payment here. I'm going to right click and look at that list view, kind of like we talked about before. And I'm just going to quickly go to payment. And now look, there's all my units all together, and I can select them all if I wanted to. And it'll take me to my payment window. If you can see here, I can increase the number of payments across all contracts, or I can increase the number of prepayments on one contract. But this total value at the bottom is going to be total across all units. So that's cool. So that's how you link contracts. And the same thing with unlink. We can unlink those contracts too, and it's going to ask you which contracts you want to unlink. Now, another thing from the activities tab that I want to mention here is you do have the ability to generate documents. So we talked about the documents queue being a process in which is pending, right? So that's anything pending going out to the customer. Now the generate documents queue under activities and generate documents is going to be how you manually generate documents. So if I wanted to come in here because the customer's coming in the middle of the month and they want an invoice, you would come in here and you would select the customer, whether it be one unit or all units, or if you were trying to send all the customers a letter or something like that, you could do that too. You would select the customer, you would select the notice in which you want to send out. In this case, it's an invoice. If you had a text message, you could do the same thing. You would have all of your texting here, and then you would generate it. So now I'm generating the notice, and I have this ability to view it, email it, print it, all of these options that I want to. If I had multiple customers here, I can select all and I can send it out. I can also even save this to their history. So it automatically saves that document that I sent out to them to their history. Super cool option here. So that's the activities tab. Now, one other thing about the activities tab that I kind of wanted to mention here is all of the icons here are listed. If you've noticed, payments, move-ins, move-outs, transfers, adjustments. So if you're more of a list view person instead of a visual icon person, the activities tab might be where you want to live. This is a good place to be. Now the view tab, you can view your calendar, which you saw the icon there. You can view reports, which there's an icon again. You can view your pending documents, which there's an icon. And then there's also the pending automatic payments. So this here will pop up on your day that you owe your customers owe, right? So if you're first of the month billing, this is going to automatically pop up on first of the month, and it's going to show you these are all of your customers who need to be charged. Again, this is if you have integrated payments. These are all of your customers that need to be charged. You can select all if you wanted to and process all of them, or you can go one by one and select them if you like, but this is where they pop up. Now, say you didn't want to charge them right now and you want to charge them later, you can escape the box, and this is how you would find it: view and pending auto credit cards. Pending lock changes, this is how you find your pending lock changes. So this would be, again, what you see on your quick view tab on your to-do list. So these are all of your lock changes. We already took away the ones that you had to add the overlock. These are your removed ones that we didn't touch yet. That's where these would be. All right, let's go ahead and go over our reports. So on the icon reports, I'll go ahead and make the box bigger here. You have all these different sections here. So one thing with Storage Commander is we have over 150 reports in our system. Today I'm only going to go over a handful of them. We do have a report book that's on our website. So please feel free to download it. It tells you a little bit about what's in each report, what it's used for, the information that's housed on it, things like that. But I'm going to go over a couple and how this tool functions. And if you have like further detailed information that you would like, go ahead and look at the report book itself. Couple things, each tab has a section here with all the different reports you can run. You can run it for a specific customer or tenant, and you can run it for a specific date range. So if you do not select a tenant, it'll run it for the full facility. And then if you don't specify what other date range you pick, it's always going to just default to today. If you have multiple facilities, you can run it for multiple facilities or other locations too. So if you wanted to see it for this other location, you would click on it and run it for that other location. Or if you wanted to see it for both, it'll open up for two of them. These report groups here are already pre-identified on the back end, and those are specifically for daily reports, end of week, end of month, and if you see reports in here that you like, we can always set those up on specific cadence to be emailed out to you or printed, whichever you prefer, so that you don't have to come in here and manually do it. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to go over the most popular reports that I see that people use on a daily basis. Like I said, if you want to, feel free to come in here and take a look at some of the other ones. Definitely jump in here and do so, and then also take a look at our report book. So the first one I'm going to do is go over to our accounting tab and go down to our payment activity report. So our payment activity report is very commonly used. This one here will provide a lot of detail about payments in general. So I just ran it for today. It'll give you the date, the name, the unit, the paid through date, what type of payment that was taken, and then it'll break it down by form of payment with a total at the bottom. So that's the payment activity. Another commonly used report is a variance report with discounts. So this one would be really good if you're looking to do a rate change. You may want to come and look at this report and see who's paying under your street rate, right? So for instance, it'll tell you their name, their unit, their move-in date, paid through date, their actual amount paid, and then their scheduled amount, which would be, again, the what they should be paying in the future. And then discount. So in this case, it shows that he has a $4.50 discount, which is a 10% variance. So this is a great report to take a look at. If you see someone that has a crazy variance, you may want to take a look at them to do like an increase, something like that. So this is a great report. We'll jump down to the analysis, the consolidated summary. This is a cool report too. So what the consolidated summary does is if you have multiple facilities, it breaks down all of this information. So all transaction information, adjustments, checks, charges, things like that, breaks it down and combines all facilities at the top. And then it'll break it down per facility after that. So this is a really cool report here. The facility summary. So this one is great. People use this one a lot for their daily reports, end of week, end of month, all of that. We also have a year to date for this one. It has so much information on one report. It has adjustments and checks and charges and credits and economic occupancy and payments and adjustments and all these things. This is really cool. I am only, by the way, filtering for date range today, like I said, but there are a lot of things on this report, and from a stand of like what's going on in my business today, this is a great report to look at because you can see, as you can see, I guess I should say, there's so much going on with this report because there's so much info on it, and it's so great to take a look at all of this stuff on one report, including things like economic occupancy, like I said, gross potential, like that's really cool to see on a report, and then also to see like what kind of money are we actually bringing in with these fees and charges and adjustments and things like that. So this is a really cool report. The next one I would say is the super summary. So it has a lot of different things that the facility summary has. I'm going to run it for year to date so you can see it. It has a lot of different things that the facility summary has. However, the difference is that it actually breaks it down by each one of those transaction information for the last 5 months and then year over year. So it tells you yearly, monthly, or daily, monthly, yearly, and then the last 5 months, and then what did you do year over year. So this is a really cool report. And then it has a little bit about that aging summary that we had on that other one, and that unit information on facility summary. So this is a really cool report also. Now, the contacts. So a couple ones, I'm only going to show you the contact summary report on this section because there's the other ones that I want to show you after that. So the contact summary is this one here. We'll run it for today because we did a lot of contact stuff today. So what it's going to pull is all of your contact marketing data that we talked about, right? So were they a drive-by? Were they penny saver? Were they converted? Were they just an open contact status? Things like that. And then it'll give you a total at the bottom of each section. As you can tell, as I'm opening these tabs in Storage Commander, nothing is like bogging it down. You can open as many tabs as you want here and it'll continue to run like as normal. So that's really cool too. Contracts. So there's a bunch that I want to show you here. So customer details is a really great one. This one here is a great report to take a look at if you want to see, for instance, some of the customer data on their account. If you needed to pull their comments, you can actually pull the customer comments here, right? Like it says here, customer comments limited to 10 lines each. So if I was to select a customer that I wanted to pull, and I had the comments on their account, I think I was in 31 when I did this, maybe 35 now, and I wanted to pull their customer details page, now I'm going to see all of their comments on their account. So if you wanted to run a report on their account, this is how you would do so that you can see everything going on in their account today, which would be cool. Now the next section that I want to show, or the next report that I want to show you, is late contracts. So late contracts is cool because it's broken down into each section of late steps. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm only filtering by myself. Each section is broken down into whatever step that you're in. So you'll see in just a sec here. And it'll tell you what late step I'm in, or whoever is in. Who's in late step 1 and when did that step hit and what's the total value. Then these people hit late step 1. This is the total value. So this is cool. So it'll tell you who's in what step and then what the total value is of their balance. The next one is lock changes. So we talked about, on the quick view tab, being able to change their locks in the section on the to-do list, and then also the view. This is just a way to just print lock changes on a report. It'll show you here, we already cleared out the ones to add the locks. This is the remove. The next one is going to be the pending rate changes. So we created a rate change, right? Just today we did. It'll pop up here under pending rate changes if there should be a good amount of people, right? Because we just said we were going to do a quarterly rate change. It's an increase, and all of these people should apply to it. And so this is going to take effect on 7/1 because that's what we decided to do. So this is going to be all pending rate changes. The next one is going to be rent roll by customer. This is cool because it just tells you, this is filtered first off by customer's name. So you can also do rent roll if you wanted to by move-in date, rent roll by unit, whichever you prefer. I did by customer. But this is really just the rent roll, and then it shows you aging too, and their balance and late steps and things like that. So rent roll is always a good one. Now we're going to go down to the insurance section. So if you don't carry insurance, this reporting probably won't apply to you, but if you carry insurance, a lot of times we have those automatically send out to your insurance provider. But if not, you can come in here and you can look up, like a good one is the insurance summary report. This will show you here what was sold for the insurance summary, what's the premium subtotal, and what's the coverage subtotal. And then it'll give you at the bottom the active contracts and the insured contracts and things like that, and it'll give you this whole collected period close date. So this is a cool report too for your insurance coverage. All right, under miscellaneous, the do not rent list is cool. So we talked about being able to click that option to do not rent to that customer again. Now you can pull reports on the do not rent list. So if you've marked them before and you want to pull reports on them and have them somewhere for yourself to be able to look at them, this would be a good report to look at. The next one would be this employee activity. This one's really cool. So if you by chance track sales per employee, this would be able to show you, okay, who did what sales, how much was the total per this day for this employee. So if multiple people were taking transactions, they'd be able to tell you what the move-in count was, what the move-out count was for that customer, and how much money did they take in for merchandise sales. So this is a way to kind of track that. And then merchandise summary is a good one too. So merchandise summary kind of breaks down like what the product is, who the vendor is, like what's your reorder quantity, how many do you have on hand. So this would be good to do like your inventory audit to just double check, hey, how many do we have of these on hand? Is the cost correct? Is the extended cost correct? Is the price right? Things like that. So this is a cool report for things like that. The next section here, and again, there's multiple reports in these sections. I'm just going over a couple in each section. The units, so many options here. I'm just going to go over a couple, but I'm going to go over the standard occupancy report, but there's about 10 different occupancy reports. This here will break it down by unit size. It'll give you the total area, how many units you have available, rented, vacant, things like that. What your percent rented is, percent of area rented, the default rent, the current potential rent, and then your current actual rent, and then your potential percent actual of potential. Said that backwards. And then a lot of these, by the way, have legends at the bottom. So if you can't understand what's going on in them, there's a legend at the bottom to explain it. The occupancy reports, like I said, there's about 10 of them in all different formats. This is a great one to look at. The other one would be like the price list summary. I think by size is the best one. And this is really cool because it literally just tells you, okay, one by ones, this is what we have available right now. This is the rate. And if they moved in today, this is the pro rate because I'm running the report for today, right? So these are really cool. It just quickly shows you this is what I have available in this rate or in this size and in this rate range. So this is a really cool report to run if you're a facility manager. And then lastly, our walkthrough report. So this one's really great because facility managers walk the property, make sure everything's good to go, check the overlock status, make sure this report and the facility basically equal out. So this is always a great report to look out for a facility manager. Again, over 150 reports in our system. Feel free to get in here, run some of them, take a look at them, and make sure that if you have questions or whatnot, take a look at our report book. That's a resource that we've provided for you. And I want you to kind of get comfortable with these reports and what you have as a resource to you. Lastly, I wanted to go over our help tab. You can actually request support directly from your storage commander. So our technical support team is here Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll also here on Saturdays from 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can always call us, but if you have questions or concerns, you can actually request support right here. If it's something as little as you can't cancel a reservation to something as extreme as you can't take payment. We monitor this queue during our business hours, so feel free to utilize this tool for you. We also have resources available for you under the technical support tab and down to support and solutions. There's things like how-to guides and manuals and video training guides, things on those ends that can help you with your day-to-day life. Thank you for joining me in our orientation class today. From everyone here at Storage Commander, we wish you 100% occupancy rate always.